So we were talking about the beatboxing, the whole journey of it. And of course, like I said, you're a hustler, right? I'm sure you'd have performed with a couple of other bands also in the city. Yeah. And eventually to come to a point to say, okay, I'm going to focus on music now. Was it because you always had this affinity towards music back in the day, oh, I'm going to get back at it one day? Or was it, okay, listen, I made my money. I think I can do something with it now.
Oh, I wish I made my money. But honestly, I was a hustler largely because it came out of a need rather than a want, because I needed money to take care of myself and to take care of things. I liked being self-sustainable much early on in my life. And I think, I don't know if this is going to get extremely deep and very quick, but so I lost my dad when I was really young. And only now do I understand there was a very weird sense of I need to sort of take care of stuff. There's a very male sort of vibe that just kicked in that made me want to be self-sufficient and take care of myself and the people around me. And so that hustler behavior, and I think hustler is only something that we've started referring to
of late, yeah.
Of late. But back then it was just, hey, I need to take care of things.
You need to put in the grind.
Yeah, you need to put food on the table. You need to be able to take care of yourself. You need to be able to buy clean underwear. So
I like the need.
It came from the need rather than the want. And so, which is why I didn't follow the music journey back then, because it wasn't meeting the need. It was a want to make music back then. And so I think, like I was telling you before, as we're getting older, we're starting to lose a lot of our friends to whatever reasons. And we're starting to lose a lot of people in our community as well. And we start seeing how quick our life is. And if we don't do this at this point in our life, then there's no point of just, because you'll be dead someday, man. And might as well life is a beautiful thing, but a lot of us don't see it. And I think me just coming back to music is giving reason for me to wake up every day with a smile on my face thinking, I'm going to create something beautiful today. And that for me is music. And all of these songs are songs I wrote when I was a kid. So between the age of 2005 to 2009, which is when I wrote my last song, the album is called Growing Up and Then Some, because it was at a time where I was getting very confused with what my calling was, who I was. And that transition from school to college, and especially going to a place like Christ College, you just walk into that pathway and you see thousands of students walking in front of you, and all of them, it can be a very intimidating sort of a thing. And you used to dance a lot back in the day. I used to think I could dance well back in the day. And when I went to Christ College, one of the biggest, hey, wake up, you're an idiot and you can't differentiate your left from your right, was when I went and saw an actual dance audition at a college level, at a PU level. They were doing all of this and that.
And they were known for the contemporary performance.
Yeah. And it blew my mind. I was like, I'll go back and join the choir. Thank you very much. But again, that was me finding out that the standards were very low. Okay, I'm going to come to something else. I'm going to talk about something else. We're going to come back to this question. But when you're growing up and everyone keeps telling you, oh, such a good dancer, oh, such a good singer, such a good engineer, look at what he built. But it's not true, because being a dancer is an art form. It's a job. Or being a musician is a job. It's an art form. Being an engineer is a job. It's a title. But when we're growing up, these words are thrown around so easily that we've reduced the value of what they actually are. And which is why I also think we have such horrible dancers, horrible musicians, horrible engineers, because it's that word is used so loosely. Yeah, it should be something that's taken very seriously. And so the standards need to be set up there. And for me, that was that massive correction that happened. I went from thinking I was a 7 to realizing and understanding that I was a 1. Mm-hmm. And that was good. It was a good learning right there.
I'm telling you, a lot of people don't get that realization at that young an age. And you should be proud that you had that happening for you then.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at someone be able to do something and you realize, I can't do that. Maybe I go and do something that I can. And so, yeah, I think
because most of the time, I think we're like, okay, he can do it, I can do it better than him. And we have that attitude, or maybe what the hell is he even doing?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of mindset a lot of people approach things until and unless something hits them hard. And listen, no,
Yeah.
you need to check yourself. So I remember I used to have this thing about, I know I'm a good MC. I know I can do this. But what really hit me was when I saw Rakesh's video once, when he did this whole thing. Dude, you can do it with corporates, you can do it with anybody, but he did this with, I think, the Youth Congress people.
Okay.
Right? He made them chant and sing. I was like, dude, that is something you should, at least think of trying and becoming to that level. And I messaged him quickly and I said, bro, you just gave me a reality check.
Right.
And well done on whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
So the day you realize that onto yourself, I think that's when you start to humble down is one. And then tend to learn a lot more than just, I know I'm learning, but you're not learning anything if you're not going to open your mind to learn. So I think you did that very, very early.
For you, it was Rakesh. For me, it was Pijosh. Another Ijipura boy, by the way.
Oh, very good friend.
Yeah. One more Ijipura Don. Do you cut your hair in Ijipura?
Look at me. Do you think I've cut my hair?
I don't know. Do you do your beard and
I
stuff?
know you'll go to the same barber.
Murthy.
He's told me about it. We meet in the same bar. You go to the same barber.
Yeah. Where the bar... No, you're the bar connect. I'm the barber connect. So, Murthy cuts...
But both are bar connect.
Correct. It's a horrible joke, but my jokes are worse than that, so we'll let that slide.
Yeah, sure.
Now, he walked in for conducting auditions for the MCs of Christ Junior College. And growing up, everyone told me, oh, you do such a good job during assembly. Oh, you speak so well. You read the newspaper so well. You can do a phenomenal job as an MC. And then I go and I sit in on the auditions. I'm super psyched. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show them what I'm like. Pijosh steps up and says, okay, guys, everyone's going to listen up. So this is what we're going to do. And that's how we're going to say it. And you have to say it with a lot of enthusiasm. And it's going to sound like this. And I'm thinking, oh,
and he has that voice.
He has the voice.
And when he starts, it's like that energy that comes. And I'm like, sometimes, we've done events together.
Right.
Suddenly I see Pijosh talking.
Yeah.
Let me just shut up now for some time.
Yeah. And the clarity in what he says, he confused the crap out of me that afternoon. And I went and he said, okay, what is your name? Okay, Vincent, you're going to say this and this and you're going to introduce this person on stage. Yes. Welcome to the stage, person so and so. He's like, no man, you have to imagine like you're on stage and you have to say it and you have to say it with a lot of enthusiasm. You're going to say it like this. I was like, welcome this so and so person to the stage. And I felt so awkward. And that was my reality check of being able to speak is very different than being an MC, being a host on stage. Reading off something is not being an MC. Right? You have to be present. You have to be in the moment. You have to be able to say things in a certain way. You have to be able to command attention and respect while you speak. That's what Pijosh did, and that's what I didn't understand. And right after I was done with that, I stepped out and I thought, I'm capable of doing it, but I've never done it before. And that was my realization. And right after that, I saw this guy named Mitten. Do you know Mitten?
Yeah.
I heard Mitten MC. And Mitten, Pijosh, and I started looking at a bunch of these other guys. There was Vaibhav. There was who's the guy from radio? The
Prithvi.
No. The All India Radio. Shabir. How did I forget his name? Shabir. I heard Shabir MC. Now, Shabir has a very different style. Shabir says, hey guys, what's up? It's a very more laid back idea of what MCing was. And I saw all of these styles. And I think by 2007, it took me about 2 years, I was able to do that. And in my opinion, I was able to find out who Vineeth Vincent was when Vineeth Vincent picked up the mic. But I practiced. I put in the work. I looked into mirrors. I had conversations with myself. The toilet was where I practiced the most.
We all went there.
We all practice in the toilet. It's true. It's true. And
where else do we talk to ourselves?
Having a shower. That's where I also practice beatboxing, by the way. When I was cycling to college, I would practice beatboxing. Sometimes my brother would drop me and I'll say stupid things like, hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome. My name is Vineeth Vincent. People of the internet, people of the audience. And I'll say things like, and he'll turn around and say, what are you doing, dude? Yeah. And then I used to practice beatboxing. So we need those references growing up. And the better references we have, the better we are later on. So when I started beatboxing, I had Literally no references, okay? No live references. I had these guys to understand what beatboxing could sound like, but no one was beatboxing as a legit performer. And so I said, okay, this is what they kind of sound like, but this is what we can sound like. And this is what a performance as a beatboxer can sound like. And I built a 3-minute performance. I took it to 2 event managers. I said, this is what I can do. Marketed myself like a ton. Like from December till I think March, I would do 2-3 meetings a day, every day. And by March, I had about 30 plus gigs. By April, 30 plus gigs. What comes after April? May.
May. You may have had.
I may. So May, I had 30 plus gigs, and then my throat went for a toss. And I think for a month and a half, I couldn't speak properly after that. And I went back to college, and every teacher would think, who's this kid who's always wearing a muffler walking around and who can't speak properly? But yeah, May, I was out. I couldn't speak at all. Those are how many gigs I did, and that's how much I traveled.
Man, that has still come to quite a thing right now, because I'm thinking you also help young beatboxers now. Yeah?
I used to. Now fewer.
Correcting the techniques and
Kind
giving
of.
them the few nitbits of what to do.
Yeah. Kind of. But back in the day, it was a lot more. I think between 2012. So when the record hit in 2011, we saw a massive number of beatboxers pop from across Bangalore and across the country as well. And so a lot of people started reaching out to me on Facebook. And then when I traveled as a beatboxer, I used to put it up on Facebook, and I used to meet a bunch of these beatboxers when I traveled the country. Divyansh, the guy who's the biggest in the country right now, in my humble opinion, he met me in Delhi. And oh man, I'm going to tell you a little story about Divyansh. We should get him on the podcast one day. I'll come back to that in a bit. But Divyansh met me in Delhi while I was doing a gig, and he was this massive giant standing in the corner of a room that you cannot ignore, but he was so humble, and he walked around like a mouse, trying not to make as much noise as he generally makes. And then he came up to me, he's like, bro, I'm a big fan, I'm this and that. And I was like, hey man, nice to meet you. And then this guy I met in 2017, I can't seem to remember, in Nagaland, when we conducted India's first ever beatbox championships.
Right.
And he got knocked out in the first round. There were, I think, 46 beatboxers. And this guy stepped up on stage, and I was one among 4 judges. I was representing India. And we had to grade him in a way where he got knocked out. And that boy, as I was leaving the venue that day, this was at the Hornbill Festival. As I was leaving the venue that day, he was sitting and sobbing his eyes out. And a bunch of other beatboxers were around him telling him, hey man, it's okay. Like, it's just a competition. And then I went up to him and I asked him, dude, what's happening? And then he's like, man, I might as well just quit right now. I went out in the first round, and I couldn't even battle a guy who's like that. And he said, I've spent all my money to get here. I've risked it all to get here, because traveling as
You're paying your own money.
a kid to, fly down, and your own accommodation, your own food, all of that is a lot for a kid. And so, and he said, what's the point? I might as well just listen to all the people around me are telling me that you're losing every single competition. And this was my last shot at, proving myself at the biggest beatboxing competition in the country. And I'm out. And I said, you haven't lost because you're a bad beatboxer. You're lost because you're comparing yourself
to somebody else,
to someone else with a completely different style. And the mic that we set was for someone with that style.
right?
Not for someone with his style. His style is a lot more intricate. It's a lot more technical. It's a lot more Indian. And he needs a completely different setting on his mic. And that's one of the reasons why we couldn't even hear him properly. And he was also comparing himself to frequencies that are a lot more mainstream rather than his own style, unique style of beatboxing. And then I said that to him. Obviously, at that particular point in time, he's not going to say it, or he's not going to see it. So many years later, our boy is the biggest thing with beatboxing in the country.
Think about it. You were judging him at one day, and now you're fanboying it.
Yeah, man. I will give respect to any of these guys who deserve it, because they have taken what I did and just made it 10x better.
All right, so now we move on to the most interesting part of your life right now, which is online, which is what you're talking about, which a lot of people around you are talking about.
Right.
Is the music part of it. And yes, you were very inclined to music in 7th standard. You told me Jeff taught you the first few strings. You told me a lot about that. But of course,
Chords.
chords, not strings.
Taught
Not
me
a
the
musician,
strings.
bro, not a
Right,
musician.
correct,
But I'm
correct.
learning on a
You're
day-to-day
learning.
basis. But that said, you started to make your ends meet. There was a need. You went about making the monies, learning a new skill, and
10th
acing.
standard, by the way, not 7th standard. 10th standard.
10th standard?
I joined the choir in 7th standard.
Okay.
So I met him in 7th.
Okay, but you learned in 10th.
Yeah.
But you learned it during your childhood, teenage times. We'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
All right. So we're coming back to this. I wouldn't say you let go of music, but you took a break from music in its sense of fulfilling something with music on your own. But then now you've come back to do an album as a musician, singer, songwriter, right? So I want to ask you, did you make this choice now because you think, I wouldn't say you made the money, but maybe because you think now you can afford to do it? Or was it purely the passion for music?
I think it's a combination of things. We were talking before about how we've lost a lot of people, right? And the fact that I'm reminded that life is so fleeting and I might as well do something at this point in time. These boys know it. I'm not going to tell you the number, but I'm in massive amount of debt.
Okay.
I've invested all my savings. I've invested literally everything that I own. Maybe by the time this video comes out, I might be selling a bunch of things on OLX to make up some money and pay some bills, because I've also taken a bunch of loans from the bank. And a lot of people who had to pay me, like some really big companies, haven't paid me as of yet. And it feels like this is the time to just do it. And I've always been about following my gut. And I don't want money to be something that holds me back. If I'm going to be broke and live the rest of my life poor, at least I've given it a legitimate shot. And I've been trying to do this for the last 3 years and I've been failing over and over again. I've failed in multiple music videos. 2 of my music videos had to be shut down because of COVID.
Okay.
And all my pre-production money just went for a toss. There were people, this guy named Vishak Nair, who came all the way down from Kerala with his entire team to produce the video here in Bangalore. We did the entire pre-production. We started shooting the first day of the music video itself. And that night, we get a call from someone who said that they tested positive for COVID.
Right.
And the guy who we were shooting with was suffering from a horrible condition at that point in time. He unfortunately passed away after that, but not because of this shoot. But we did not want to risk his life. And we wanted him to be a part of the video. So we shut down the entire thing for his safety and for everyone else's safety. Because back then, the variant that was going around was actually killing people.
Right.
And this friend of mine, who unfortunately passed away just before Let It Fly came out, we could not risk it at all with him. And he had already gotten it. That he was suffering from complications of recovering from COVID.
Right.
And that was one music video. The other music video, we spent 14 days of, I think, about 12 people running up and down the city, setting things up. We bought material. Everything was good to go. We were building sets. And then COVID kicked in. Everyone moved back. This is Vishak Nair again.
Mm-hmm.
So Color was our third attempt. My first music video was our third attempt at making a music video. So before that, I'd already lost all my savings. And for Color, I took out a loan, a very large loan, to actually execute that music video. And then came Iron Hearts after that. I took out another loan. And then came Let It Fly. And that's when I took out my third loan. So I've just been going on loans and making sure I hit my EMI payments.
I don't want to say you're flying on loans, or rather you're letting it fly on loans, but I know you're letting your passion fly because I know you believe that one day it will, give you the benefits. I wouldn't say benefits, give you the returns you're looking at.
Yeah.
And you have a certain vision as well in terms of your music. So we will discuss that as well.
I want to be the biggest thing that comes out of the country with music. And I'm going to say it on this podcast because I think I can. I think I have what it takes. I believe it on the inside that I am going to make it as a musician. It's just about going at it non-stop and going at it in a smart way.
I'm sure you have your plans in place, and we're there to just help you push that forward as much as we can. But coming back to the musicality and everything, so when you decide you're going to do this, transcend into getting to become a musician, you would have definitely, I know now we're called the yellow pages of musicians in Bangalore, but for you to pinpoint and say, okay, I'm going to take this particular guy who's going to do this thing on the music for me. He's going to do my video. He's going to do my post production of the music, and these are people going to work for me and stuff.
Right.
How did you make that call? How did you go about choosing these people? Because I know that's also cost.
Yeah, it's a big cost. And I think it's, again, going with your gut, going with the flow. And as soon as something feels forced, I just stop pushing. I just back off and give people their space. And I look for someone else and I work with someone else. And that also slows down the entire process, because I realize not everyone is going to share the drive that I have. And will not share my dream. I'm still yet to find these people, be it for marketing, be it for my branding, my design. It's a constant ongoing process. And until you make it, you don't know who those people are. So it's a constant process of going through everything. I'm looking at my video, guys, while I say this. Yeah. So, and I think it's the simplest answer is you go with your gut. You go with the flow and you trust your instincts, and yeah, you just listen to yourself.
This is where I want to ask you this. As strong as you are, as strong as your gut, whatever it says, at times, as human as we are, we always tend to have certain thoughts that would flip out. What if this fails?
Yeah.
Will this happen?
Yeah.
Do you get that? And what are the kind of thoughts you get?
I'm terrified of it. There are days I go to sleep and I just think I'm an absolute idiot for trying to give this a shot. Like, it's the worst decision of my life. My music's not good. My writing is not good. I'm not going to make it. I'm a horrible actor when it comes to my music videos. I think every single negative thought possible, it runs through my head. I sleep it off, wake up in the morning. I lose 50% of that negativity. I gain 50% of that positivity. I start my day. I get back 100% of my positivity by the evening. By the time it reaches the night, I'm back to thinking about, oh crap,
It is this... it's a cycle,
Yeah.
like how a day to night cycle happens. It's a thing that happens, but also does it happen because of fear of failure? Or
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Fear of failure?
Also, fear of failure is one thing, but also looking at things very realistic. Let's be honest, you and me right now. We're two dark men, right? We're not the prettiest people in the sense of what society thinks is good looking. I'm not writing music about love. I'm not writing music that sounds pop, that sounds like it's going to be on the top of the chart. It doesn't sound like a Taylor Swift. It sounds like stuff that you and I grew up on. But that's the kid that wrote it. And I'm trying to do, honestly, I'm trying to do justice to that kid that wrote that music.
And this you wrote like what, when you were about 13,
15,
14,
16, 14, 15, 16 onwards till 20, I think.
And you've changed some things over time, like now?
I've changed words like for, it, that. These are words that I've changed because very slightly the idea of what I've written has changed. It's evolved, but I constantly remind myself to write for that kid that wrote it back then. Mm-hmm. And this first album is sort of going to be that. My producers tend to disagree with me from time to time, but I try and bring it back to what that sound was in my head. And I try to stick to that sound in my head.
But that is another challenge, which I want to get on the whole technicalities. But before that, to just understand all this, where you decide this is the worst, everything that comes into place is so intricate, it's so important to you, right? But you've grown, like your album also says, growing up. You've grown into somebody else from who you were.
Yeah.
How hard is it for you to relate to that person when you look back?
Oh, I don't find it difficult at all, because it is about the process of growing up. I am not that kid I was in 2005. I am not the kid I was in 2008. So 2005 was a big year for me growing up. 2008 was a big year for me growing up. 2012, 2015, 2018, 2013, all of these years, big things happened in my life. And I respected that growth. I respected that change. And I respect the person I am now. And some of the calls I had to make were difficult ones. Some were wrong. Forgiving myself, I think, has been the most difficult thing to do. And currently, the most difficult thing for me to do is sticking to my guns, because everyone around you is constantly telling you their version of what they believe the truth is. And it might be their truth, but it doesn't have to be my truth. And my truth doesn't have to be theirs. And what is my truth and their truth may not even be the fact. The fact can be something else altogether. So learning to stick to my truth, number one, and then learning to differentiate what the differences between my fact and the truth are two different things. And I'm trying to live by that. It's difficult.